Before we get started, a quick word from our sponsor, Community Financial's President CEO Tansley Stern podcast, Despite Impossible. Now on to the show. Studio Lounge interviews at Emerge, brought to you by Eltropy. Hey everybody, Mike Lawson here with CU Broadcast. Welcome back to our continued coverage. Actually, Ashish, you're our closing interview for the 2025 Eltropy Emerge conference here in beautiful San Francisco. We've got the Golden Gate Bridge right behind us, and we have Ashish Garg from Eltropy right next to me. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Excellent. It's been amazing 2.5 days.
I bet it has.
Yeah, I'll be remiss if I didn't say I'm a little tired. Little tired, lack of sleep, but heart is very, very full.
Good.
I'm feeling very excited, and what a journey this has been.
No doubt. Yeah, it has been talk about full. It has been a full 2.5 days, because you guys don't mess around when you're in the big room down the hall there. You guys had session after session after session, and the thing that I really appreciate, and I think the audience appreciates as well, is that you put the financial institutions on the front burner here. Every session had I don't want to say a testimonial, but a use case of how they're using Eltropy's products and services so effectively. So really appreciate that peer-related message, and I think the audience really appreciated it as well. And I'm sure you do that on purpose. Yeah. So you can share with me the philosophy behind that, of putting your clients on the front burner here.
I think the deep philosophy, Mike, is very simple. That at conferences, what happens, people are drinking from a fire hose. And it so happens that one way people remember, the things people really remember are stories. Stories stick in people's minds. So if you notice, every session had some sort of a story. It had a situation, it had a problem to be solved, which was solved by one of our clients, and then there's impact. These stories are the ones that stick in people's minds.
For sure.
And this is what I tell my team, that listen, more than anything, we got to get better at storytelling and draw those stories.
Yeah, those personal anecdotes. I mean, you have plenty of those in your presentations. This year you shared a little bit that I hadn't seen before, like your high school years, and you showed some pictures of your senior year in high school, and a picture of your high school as well. It was really cool. I love that type of stuff, because again, that's the stuff that I'm remembering. That's the stuff people remember, and then how you tie it into what you guys are doing now. So really enjoyed that part of it. So I want to just, before we talk about a couple of the highlights from the conference, I want to talk about your keynote just real quickly, because your theme on this was the impact of conversations. Do you want to expand on that a little bit, and how Eltropy kind of ties into that conversation or that impact?
Yes, I would say at a very high level, Mike, the bigger sort of theme of the keynote was innovation with purpose. And I think it's really important to connect to the purpose for which credit unions and community banks exist today. We call them community financial institutions, and how their purpose is to serve the communities. So what innovations we need to bring together so they can better serve their communities. And I don't know if you remember in my keynote, if you remember that statement I made, right, that right here in San Francisco, this hotel, the whole AI revolution in the world is happening in a 10-mile radius.
That's right. You mentioned that OpenAI is just like a couple of blocks from here.
Exactly. So there is, and then I don't know if you remember the Wharton professor Karthik, he was there on day one, and he talked about, listen, AI is one of those fundamental technologies like electricity, like the internet, that's going to impact everything. So now I would say there's, of course, fascinating that there's a lot of innovation happening. AI is at the forefront, but what it is also doing, it's forcing community financial institutions to look deep inside and try to understand how do they stay relevant in this new world. How do you stay relevant where there's technology coming out of nowhere, where cost of doing business is exploding, people's behavior is changing. Like my son and my daughter, they want to do everything on their cell phone. Right, so in the middle of all of this, the stand that I took, and I call it the stake I put on the stage, was really, it's all about conversations, right? And it's the conversations that these community financial institutions have with people in their community, through which they actually then get to understand who these people are, understand their needs, build those relationships, and then they get to work in underwriting financial risk. So conversations was really sort of the underpinning of all of that. This is my opinion. And then if you agree with that, that conversations are critical for this movement to continue, then how do you solve that?
Right.
So that's where really I start.
Well, the conversations, for me, from my perspective, is that's what creates the bond.
Yes.
Right? And so this technology that you guys are creating creates that conversation in any channel.
Yes.
And it's seamless. It goes from channel to channel to channel, omni-channel, if you will. Go back a few years, use that buzzword. But that's what, to me, that's what creates, or that's the starting point or the launch pad of a conversation.
Yes.
Especially the texting stuff, though. I mean, I had numerous conversations with credit unions here about how powerful the texting is, especially in the collections environment, just as an example.
Yeah.
So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So, and this is what really creates that bond, I think.
And then the question to be asked is that, listen, if technology is really going to change the game in a very big way and AI is going to get involved, well, what does that do to conversations? Right? And this is where, if you remember, I put together a framework that there are simple conversations, complex conversations, and everything else in between.
Yeah.
The simple stuff is, hey, what's my account balance, etc., etc. The complex part is, how do I get a mortgage? How do I invest my money? How do I do estate planning? How do I plan for financial wellness, etc., etc. Those are the complex conversations. And if you remember, where sort of the conversation in the room steered was that, listen, the simple stuff, let's automate it.
Yeah.
That's where AI plays a big role. Let's automate that. Let's make it self-serve. And really, where we need human touch with empathy is on the complex side.
Yep. And that message was reiterated with each of those credit unions that I talked to. I mean, you echoed what they just said, what they said over and over again. Especially, again, going back to one of the prime examples was the collections of it, where we need to have that empathy, where that is required. And the other thing that I got from it too was the proactive. We've gone from a reactive, I guess, situation or scenario to proactive, and this is what this stuff allows that to do, is kind of getting ahead of the game, or keeping folks from getting deeper into a challenge. Again, using the collections part as just one example of the many things where these conversations can take place.
And you're spot on. I think the proactiveness, this way technology can play a big role. Can technology detect certain triggers, certain patterns, and then can technology initiate that proactivity? Right? Like sending, for example, just going back to collection, sending a text message way in advance of a person being delinquent, just as an example. Or let's say an AI bot understanding that something is changing in people's life based on their spending patterns on their credit card, based on the money coming into the bank account, going away from the bank account, etc., etc. So can technology play that role of detecting such patterns and initiating proactively some contact? Which then leads to conversations down the line.
Indeed, again, which furthers that bond. And this is the perfect segue to my next observation of what you were talking about on stage, and is like, community financial institutions are lifelines. And you use numerous examples of how they are lifelines and reaching out and using your guys' technology to be that to be that conduit, if you will. So, and one of the more powerful ones was First City Credit Union. You had Royce here talking about what they went through in the recent fires in LA, in Pacific Palisades and Altadena, and their credit union was like right in Altadena, I believe. So, and miraculously they survived. So, but many businesses and obviously homes did not. But share with me the lifeline philosophy, if you will, or that angle, because I thought it was really good. I think the audience loved it too.
Yeah, I would say that was the most sort of heartwarming or touching presentation that I saw yesterday when Joyce was on the stage. And the story that he told, and I'll tell you, Mike, what really touched me was they had several branches, and a decision had to be made in the middle of the fire zone whether to keep the branch open or not. And the branch manager makes a decision that, listen, we are going to keep our branch open. They're running out of fuel. They had backup diesel generators. Of course, power has been cut. They're going to run out of fuel. They're running out of water. But they still figure out a way to stay open. And a lot of the members for First City Credit Union are the first responders, are the sheriff's department, are the fire-person department. And they organized a hot meal.
Amazing.
Doesn't blow your mind? And
during that time,
the sheriffs are coming in and saying, listen, we haven't had a hot meal in 2.5 days. Oh my goodness, Mike, that is to me the mind-blowing moment, right? The goodness of the human heart, right? What it makes happen. And again, where our technology played a role is every single day, the credit union First City will send a text campaign to all their employees, just checking in. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Something very simple but so thoughtful, right? And the employee will get a text in the morning, and they reply back with 1 if they're safe, 2 if they've been evacuated, and 3 if they need help.
Yeah.
And 80% of the employees will instantly check in. So now they keep tabs, and more than anything, the loyalty that built with the employees, saying, listen, you cared for us.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, it's just amazing, the power. I mean, you just think of, we all kind of even take texting for granted
exactly
these days, but this shows you the power of it
exactly.
and how it keeps everyone together. Yeah, there's just a couple of examples that just really blew me away. So, but I want to get your kind of your overall feeling of this year's conference. Obviously, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger each year. Kudos to you guys for doing that's just a good sign of success, obviously. But share with me kind of the overall theme, your overall take of this year's conference, and any highlights you want to share as well.
Yeah, so I would say, yeah. So the conference keeps getting bigger, and I'm very happy about that. And I'll give an example. So third year, first year, we had about 100 people in Salt Lake City. Last year, we had about 200 odd people in Santa Clara. This time, we had 330. And what was, again, very heartwarming for me, this time we had 20 fellow fintechs here exhibiting with us, sponsoring some of the events. Some of the big names of the industry were here. Alchemy, for example, Civil Origins was here. So amazing news that way. And my plan is that, at least my wish, is this continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger and really becomes this place where a lot of ideas are exchanged. To me, the power of all of this, Mike, is in the exchange of ideas. We have some ideas, our partners have lots of ideas, but the people on the ground making things happen, the leaders from credit unions and community banks, they have ideas. Can we be that idea exchange? And talking about highlight, I don't know if you remember yesterday when I did a product keynote, and I asked people that, listen, we are working on 6 different themes, solution themes right now. For example, modernizing the contact center, etc. I don't know if you remember, I asked people in the audience, what else would you like us to work on? And there was a theme called fraud, right?
I remember.
Which I wrote down. Another theme that came about is better staff utilization. Right? Can technology and AI play a role in understanding where staff is spending their time? What is the traffic patterns in branches versus sort of phone calls, etc.? Can we take all this data, really understand where members or consumers really want to meet and have those complex conversations, and can we actually do better staffing? I think technology can play a big role over there, right? The AI algorithms, etc. Can we learn over time, right? So those are, I would say, 2 things. Another area which has come about, it was discussed again, is M&A.
A lot of that going on right now.
A lot of that going on, and I think somebody made a point that the reason, it was, I think, Mark from Filene Research Institute made a point that, listen, the reason for M&A accelerating tremendously is people think that the way to solve a bunch of these cost-related problems or lack of membership growth, etc., the way to solve that is scale. That's what everybody's gunning for. Now, nobody knows whether scale is the right answer or the wrong answer, but at least there's a movement in that direction. So I wrote that down in my notebook as well, and I think when M&A is happening, again, communication plays a big role, right? People are nervous. Listen, these 2 institutions are merging. What's going to happen to my bank account? Can I continue using the same checkbook, right? Can I use the same debit card? Does my account number stay the same? So I think there again, that communication and conversations play a very big role in M&A.
One of my favorite sessions was yesterday, and it was Stump the Experts.
Yes.
Loved it. There's Michelle walking down he was the moderator. Good timing, sir. Love that one. And the thing that got me about that particular session is that you turned the conference into a two-way conversation.
Yes.
And the audience was incredibly engaged because they were firing questions back and forth with your all-star panel of experts on stage. It was really a lot of fun, but incredibly informational as well. So I love that. That was a great session.
And you know what, Mike, like every question that gets asked, in my notebook, that's a thing we can build.
For sure. It makes you guys better.
Exactly, right? So this is what I love about this conference, how it's shaping up, is these conversations that are happening, right? Two-way conversations, ideas being exchanged, problems to be solved, solutions that other people are doing, and that's the joy.
Yeah. Again, and when you guys get better, your clients get better.
Absolutely.
And it's just this perpetual cycle of goodness, I've heard. So you guys are doing it very, very well. All right, so kind of a wrap-up question here. Plans for the future. What's on the docket for 2025? What's on the burner for the rest of this year and beyond? And maybe you want to tease maybe next year's Emerge as well.
So later this year, Mike, we are going to do a leadership summit.
Okay.
I would love for you to be there.
Okay.
As always.
Let me know the date.
Yes. So it's happening on 25th, 26th, 27th August.
Okay.
It's going to be in Jackson Hole.
Oh, lovely.
A very bougie town.
Yes. Beautiful part of the country.
I'll tell you the story. 2 years ago, I took my kids to Yellowstone National Park. And somehow we ended up on Teton National Park. And I had no idea Jackson Hole existed. And I go there, I'm like, oh my goodness, middle of nowhere? What kind of a town this is?
Yeah, it's cool.
It was fascinating. So this time I told my team, we have to go there. So Leadership Summit is more intimate. Our whole idea is just like there's a World Economic Forum that happens in Switzerland, in Davos. Our vision is to create a similar exchange of leadership, thought leadership, in a very sort of unique setting. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're going to have about 75 leaders of the community financial institution movement. This time, we're also allowing everybody to bring a +1 because it's going to be such a beautiful place. So might as well bring a significant other, whoever you would like.
Good move.
Right? Or a friend, just so you can enjoy. But also, let's discuss the challenges facing the industry, the opportunities in front of the industry. So that's a big thing for us coming up.
I've noticed that's a really cool trend in the industry. You know, a lot of the companies out there, they have these big, client conference type things, but then they have a more intimate, more, a leadership type of forum, if you will. So so you guys are spot on with that, sir. Alrighty, sir. Well, anything else here to add before I let you go on this last day here and maybe exhale the next couple of days and just soak it all in?
All I'll say is that everybody who came, I'm very, very thankful to you. I know travel is not easy. San Francisco is sort of like one corner of America. But what was amazing was how many first-timers to San Francisco.
A lot. There was
almost half the people.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the first time in the city. And a lot of them are staying back to have some fun with family. I'll of course, get to do sightseeing, etc. So we're beginning now. Once we exhale, we're going to plan next year's Emerge. And the big dilemma facing me right now, Mike, and love some thought on this.
Sure.
Should we go to another exotic location like San Francisco? Keep it in San Francisco, keep it in California, go someplace else. I like going to a different city because people get to experience something new. But of course, logistically, it's not easy. So any thoughts on that?
I like bouncing around to different places, but my whole thing is I really don't care where a conference is. If the content is good and very interactive, count me in. I don't care where it is. But Jackson Hole's not a bad place.
Not a bad place.
And San Francisco ain't bad either. I think you guys got a good thing going here. So
thank you. And Mike, I just want to thank you again. The positive energy you bring to the stage and to the whole conference, you have a God gift.
Thank you.
Please keep practicing, and we love having you here.
I always enjoy this. Is one of my favorites of the year, just because I love what you guys at Eltropy are doing. It's one of the great stories in our industry because I keep going back to that first visit we had at Max all those many years ago, when you're like, I'm brand new, and it was just such a cool thing. I just love being on this journey with you guys and watching you guys from afar. It's just, again, it's one of the great stories in the industry. So I'm always happy to share what you guys are doing. So
thank you.
Good stuff, sir.
Thank you.
Studio Lounge interviews at Emerge, brought to you by Eltropy. A quick word from our sponsor, Community Financial's present CEO, Tansley Stern's new podcast, Despite Impossible.